Good afternoon, Tony Dattino, doing my Live with Tony broadcast. As you may still be able to tell by my background, I am still in New York. The good news is Evelyn had a good doctor's visit this morning, and the procedure he did for this vitreous pull closed the remaining hole that was in her eye, and therefore she was able to read the eye chart with perfection today. So it was a happy moment. And the gas bubble they put into the eye to try to help this healing is still very large, and she's still not able to drive. So I get to spend one more week here in New York. And as I do, that obviously brings me to the bookshelf. And I just scanning down the bookshelf, I decided today again to open back up the book that was written by Scott Hagwood. And Scott was our four-time USA Memory Championship, if you recall, going way back to the beginning of time when Tatiana Cooley was the initial three-time winner. And then Scott came along and became a four-time winner. Got to write this fabulous book. It was printed out in 2006 and put out by the Simon & Schuster Inc. Company. So a pretty significant event in his life that has been life-changing for him. But what I thought today, what I thought was really interesting, is a couple of sections in his book about the difference of what happens with your brain and what it does in terms of as you go through memory. He has a section in here, changing your brain. And I thought it was really important, some of the points that he made. An important reason to do exercises is that the strategies and techniques, exercises in memory, mnemonics and different memory techniques and systems. So here's what he really talked about that I thought was really important and powerful. A more important reason to do the brain training exercises is the strategies and techniques about the change not only in your perception of how you think, but it actually changes your brain to make thinking and remembering easier and more efficient. So think about that. You practice, and obviously you practice in anything. If you're practicing the right skill and you're doing it in the right manner, you get to be more and more efficient, and it actually gets to be easier. Now, whoever thinks of memory as being, or remembering information, people's names, things that you're supposed to do, who thinks of those as being easier, especially as you get older? Well, here Scott comes along and he says, God, my goodness, if you practice these things, you actually do begin to change your brain and build up an infrastructure. And that infrastructure allows you to remember easier and remember things quicker. So using an fMRI that was done at Wake Forest Medical Center, he proved it with his own brain. So he was brought to the Wake Forest Magnetic Resonance Imaging Center, and they did some brain testing. The technology has been used to explore different areas of brain activity, including face and word recognition, memory, false memories, as well as by a Dr. David Cox at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. What they've concluded is the brain is remarkable, right? It needs to use only a fraction of its capacity, right? We talk about capacity of the brain. Right? We have infinite number of thinking and thoughts and capacity. We have hundreds of thousands of neurons and dendrites and axons, and that ability for those to connect through what I call the firing of an impulse, right? Electrical impulse that then connects to respective dendrites and dendritic spines. Fast forward, we have infinite capacity, right? So the brain's remarkable. It needs to only use a fraction of its capacity to achieve extraordinary results. So what I tell people, this is this formula of 1 + 1 in terms of your memory, in terms of your practicing, as Scott is now reporting here. And it basically says, look, one new thought to a brain that is infinite thinking biology, right? Physiology, in terms of what it's capable of doing, can generate an infinite number of new thoughts. The exercises I performed for the scan that I undertake for memory, like cards and names and words, it isn't what you're memorizing that's important. So Scott was smart enough to be able to take it away and say, it's not what you're memorizing is important. It's how you're memorizing. What are the skills? And this is what we say to people all the time. Memory is a verb. It's a skill. And so it's what you want to do is your brain to be a master processor of information. And then it gains an immense efficiency. And once you have the process down, then you almost can remember anything. And I think now we are one of our current associates, Jim Carroll, has proven this over and over again. When I've worked with Jim now for over 10, God, it's probably going on 15 years. It's amazing what Jim Carroll, it's Karol, you can check him out on the internet, what he's been able to do in his own mind, in his own work, improving what Scott wrote about here in his book, Memory Power. A trained brain is more efficient because it is able to eliminate confusion. Well, focus. How many times have you heard about focus? When I talk about people losing their car keys or misplacing their glasses or not knowing where they parked their car in the parking lot, it isn't because they have a senior moment or a brain. It's because they didn't focus on where they put it, where they put their keys, where they put their glasses. So a trained brain is more efficient because it is able to eliminate confusion. While the brain appears to be highly compartmentalized, such as vision, sound, or senses, a highly trained brain uses just enough resources from each of the compartments to amplify signals, but not so much as to create wasted energy. The control subject's brain is a model of confusion and wasted energy. Obviously, there's a lot of activity, but very little gets accomplished. Thus, an untrained brain was certain on how to process tasks and tried to do problem solving using different approaches. So it kind of bounces all over. So what Scott is going on with this study he did was that with the techniques he uses, he's got a process. He's got skills that are systemic in a way that helps him to go through whatever he needs to do in his life, which is about what I broadcast on a couple of weeks ago when I talked about Scott's recent promotion and the work that he's been able to accomplish and how he's distinguished himself from other professionals in his world. The brain scans that he puts here, now so he puts some brain scans here, basically illustrate the problem of internal competition. One reason that one doesn't perform is the brain was activating all resources simultaneously, igniting internal competition between various compartments. While each part of the brain alone is effective at its job, the overall effect was that no second took command of a problem. The trained brain, on the other hand, uses minimum resource and the expertise of each department to achieve success, and not only as much as what was needed, but absolutely what was able to achieve results. So what did the reading I had here with Scott today do? What does it do? It talks about memory exercises in the book, and then how do you put your memories to work? How do you transfer these skills? How do you learn to remember names and faces and use that process in terms of becoming more focused about people that you see or people that you meet and being in that moment of meeting people and being socially interactive? And what we know today is social inactivity can lead you to depression and stress and feeling lonely and feeling this level of being isolated in the world. And what Scott has identified here is, my goodness, if I taught you some skills on how to remember names and faces and how to be socially active, wouldn't that be terrific, not just for your memory, but for your overall physiology and your overall health? So when you think back, he wrote this book in 2006, and then we had Josh Four come along with Moonwalking with Einstein, and then we've got Jim Carroll has come along with his Memory Power. It's just amazing what science is telling us in the year 2023 that we've been working on since the early 2000s. And getting a message out through our USA Memory Championship website and now through our Maximum Memory online course, on getting people to realize there is so much more that we can do with our brains. There is so much more potential we have within each of us, that if we only were willing to believe, and I guess the question is, do you believe? Do you believe that you can make a difference and you can learn some techniques that would be fun You can be enthusiastic about it. You can be excited about it. My goodness, what's wrong with that? And have it make a huge difference in your life in whatever direction you want to take it. And how about in the lives of the families that you have, the kids that you may have in your life, your spouses, your relatives. I mean, what a difference this can all make. And so we're continuing to do our Facebooks. I'm going to continue my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We've got YouTube videos that go out several times a week as well. And we're trying to get the message out to more and more people. We're making progress. Sometimes this doesn't come fast enough for me, but the fact is we are. And I hope that you get to see this someday and say, get what Tony is saying. I dig it. I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to figure out, what can I do to help improve my memory? And maybe learn one thing that gives me the 1 + 1 that brings me to infinity. And the power of what I can do to change my life. With that, we'll see you back on Wednesday. I hope the temperatures in the New York Northeast area get a little warmer. And I do miss my Florida residence and my swimming, but I'll get there. The important thing is that everything's getting better by the day.